The sun hung low over the fields of dried grass, casting long shadows over the cracked earth. The farm had seen better days, but it still stood, stubborn and unwavering, just like the man who owned it. Old Ezra had spent his entire life tending to this land. Wrinkles carved deep into his leathery skin told stories of hard labor, of summers that scorched and winters that bit. His hands, calloused from years of toil, gripped a worn-out hoe as he stood on his porch, watching a sleek black SUV kick up dust along the dirt road leading to his house. The vehicle screeched to a halt, and out stepped Vinnie Marcone, a gangster whose name carried weight in the underbelly of the city. His dark suit, out of place in the countryside, gleamed under the dying light. A wicked smirk curled his lips as he adjusted his gold watch, stepping onto the porch without invitation. His men, thick-necked brutes with dead eyes, stood by the car, arms crossed, watching. "Ezra," Vinnie drawled, his voice a slow, mocking drawl. "I hear you've been telling folks you ain't selling this land?" Ezra leaned on his hoe, eyeing the younger man. "You heard right," Vinnie chuckled, shaking his head. "You sure you want to make this hard? You got no family, no backup. This farm ain't worth squat, old man. But me? I see potential." He spread his arms. "Think of the cash. Name your price." Ezra didn't blink. "Ain't for sale." Vinnie exhaled dramatically and turned his back, shaking his head. "See? Now that's a shame. 'Cause I don't take no for an answer." Ezra's grip tightened on the hoe. "You step on this land thinking you own it, but this land, it remembers." Vinnie laughed, a deep, amused chuckle. "What, you gonna put a hex on me, old man?" He turned to his men, grinning. "You hear that, boys? This place remembers." His goons snickered. Ezra's eyes were cold. "You ever hear about the war? How soldiers trained here? How they left things behind?" Vinnie scoffed. "You mean that landmine nonsense? Please?" He stepped forward, pressing a firm hand against Ezra's chest. "Listen, Grandpa, I ain't afraid of fairy tales. This land is mine now." Ezra didn't resist. He only whispered, "Then step carefully." Vinnie turned, still chuckling, and took another step forward, onto the yard. Click. His body went rigid. The smirk vanished. The sound was unmistakable. Silence hung thick in the air. The color drained from Vinnie's face as sweat beaded on his forehead. One of his men took an instinctive step forward, but Ezra raised a hand. "I wouldn't." Vinnie's breathing turned ragged. Tell me this is a joke." Ezra shook his head. "Told you. This land remembers." Vinnie's body trembled. "Help me, please." Ezra knelt, looking Vinnie in the eyes. "You thought you could take whatever you wanted. That greed made you blind. But some things, Vinnie, some things don't belong to you." Vinnie's lips quivered. "Tell me how to get off." Ezra exhaled. "Slow, real slow. But if I were you, I'd rethink my life while I still had time." Vinnie did as he was told, sweat dripping from his brow. He lifted his foot a fraction of an inch. Boom! The explosion rocked the ground, sending dirt and debris flying. When the dust settled, there was nothing left of Vinnie Marcone but scattered remnants of a man who had laughed at an old farmer's warnings. Ezra watched in silence, then turned and walked back to his porch. The land had remembered, and now so would anyone else who dared to take what wasn't theirs.